Alright everyone, it's time for the Occult, video number 376, Mexican Elves, the Aluxe Saga. Now, there are several ways I'm seeing that pronounced, Aluxe, Alux, etc. It's a Mayan cryptozoological creature, or depicted as one, and seems to depict some sort of elf-like creature, which really functions more like a pixie or a gnome. Mischievous, sort of chuckling and playing tricks, sort of like a leprechaun or an imp or something like that. When people think of elves in the Western sense, they often think of like Norse-looking creatures, tall, with bows and stuff, like a Lord of the Rings sort of thing. That's a quasi-adaptation of the concept, at least, if you look at the Poetic Eddas. And then Gandalf, the Cane Elf, of course, going with them. Very interesting. Gandalf literally mentioned in Norse mythology. Obrador, the president of Mexico, decided to post a picture that he speculates is one of these particular creatures. It's a nighttime photo of a couple of eyes shining down from a tree. There are several ways to interpret this depending. It's as usual with cryptozoological pictures. This is a tendency you'll know. It is rather poorly lit and rather choppy. There's definitely some compression artifacts in there. It's not exactly a high quality picture. And with little attribution backing up the veracity of the picture. It could be an outright hoax. Someone just puts a balloon with a couple of reflective eyes on it up in a tree, and then you put a few branches around that look vaguely like a body, and then you've got a cryptid, potentially. Some people believe it. I believe that the particular picture displays one of two things. Again, it's whether you interpret part of that picture as being part of a body or part of the tree itself, and it's by no means clear. Again, you're not working with the best photograph ever taken, even by cryptozoological standards. I think that it's either a spider monkey, that would be the most likely, or possibly like an owl or vulture, a bird of some sort. Probably more likely a monkey. In fact, if you look at the proportion of this that appears to be a face, even with the coloration, it looks an awful lot like a Mexican spider monkey. Of course, we have no scale for size. We're not sure how far away the person was photographing the tree. We're not sure how big around the tree is. We have no clue how large this particular object is that is being photographed. Again, many such cases. Seems the same with UFOs. Photography and the quality of video recordings has shot up to the moon in the last 30 years, and yet we've still got extremely grainy 360 stills of flying saucers and stuff like that. It's rather sad how these things always seem to be able to evade the more modern cameras and never get a clear shot. They must be magical, of course. Now, I'm being somewhat glib. When I look at cryptozoology in the case of this particularly, I would rather base it on the Mayans were interpreting a natural animal that they thought was interesting. In this case, again, probably a monkey. They thought, well, this creature is kind of sort of human-like, and it seems rather intelligent compared to the other animals around, compared to the fucking pig over there or the worm or something. Monkeys are more intelligent, and they can interact with humans sometimes, and they are mischievous. They do play tricks. They will steal things. They will screech and jump out at you. They have a sense of humor, much like some other animal species, crows, for example. There's a significant overlap between animals having a unique personality, a unique capability, or a unique look, or them being elusive or remote, and them spawning cryptozoology. So it's an animal that's from a new explored continent. You don't know what's there, you're out in the woods, you see an animal that you're not familiar with, and it becomes a hyperbolic retelling of what you saw, like the hoop snake. Animals, the campfire animals of yesteryear from the American settlers. You'd think of those. Tales from Australia. And in some cases, these animals, scarcely believed at first, turn out to be real. For example, the coelacanth. We know that they exist now. Originally, it was considered mythology. We thought that they were only in the fossil record, and the handful of sightings that people made weren't verified, and we said, you drank too much petrol again. The kangaroo is a great example. When British explorers first reported back to London and said, there are creatures here that are hop around on two legs, and they carry their baby in a pouch, and they look sort of like a big rabbit or something like that. And by the way, they have a mean boxing punch and kick and can disembowel a man in one hit. They said, well, you're crazy. This isn't real. Again, you've lost it due to the remoteness of your location. Of course, we now know kangaroos are real. They're farmed for their meat. Actually, very, very tasty, by the way. In some cases, you find out it's true. With this particular case, we don't need such an explanation. We have an underlying creature that appears to be depicted in the picture itself, which also has capabilities and characteristics and a look that roughly mimics what the Mayans were talking about. So the mythology is piggybacked off of zoology, regular zoology. People now, for some reason, are interpreting it differently, even though there's such an easy explanation for the original story itself of these tricksy little elves or gnomes or whatever you would deem them. In some cases also, you have difficulties with interpreting exactly what's being spoken of. The Mayan code wasn't really well understood until fairly recently, for example. There's still a lot of re-exploration, I think, to do. A lot more ruins to dig out, by the way, as well. Same with down in Brazil. They constantly find pyramids and shit down there at this point. Only don't go after them as much due to the inaccessibility of the Amazon, the danger of running up against poachers or hostile native groups, and government regulation related to preserving what little of the forest down there is still left. So I think that the best explanation here is probably the simple one. This is a monkey. And that means it is an Alux, technically, because that is based off of those same monkeys. That's about all. Peace out.